Traditionally, to get the highest quality video game music, a rip is needed. Video games tend to have sound effects or ambience that overlay onto music. It can be hard to get a clean recording from the console itself. With the right tools, it's easy enough to extract raw music from the game's files. These music tracks are isolated, with no plings or hums getting in the way of the song. Mario Kart World released with a phenomenal soundtrack alongside the Nintendo Switch 2. The usual tools weren't quite ready for use with the new system, making authentic music rips unviable. Months went by, and the tracks were still stuck to the game, while Donkey Kong Bonanza and Kirby Air Riders made appearances on Nintendo Music. While ripping the soundtrack was impossible, fans were still interested in listening to the music outside of the Switch 2. This soundtrack is an incredible backdrop for a racing game, but the tracks take on a new energy when heard in isolation. Recordings with muffled sound effects started to be shared online shortly after launch. An effort was being made by fans to capture the soundtrack, but idle sound effects and other ambience got in the way. The immediacy of these recordings gained popularity and was generally good enough for many people. Yet, some fans strived for something cleaner, something closer to the quality found in a traditional video game rip. Something authentic. This is where Resentido Social, TZ Gaming, Superstan22, and a few others came to investigate. With previous Mario Kart games, music for a track would consist of a looping area and an intro. The intro plays once, and the loop continues for the duration of the race, abruptly cutting for the third lap or race end. Later entries would introduce flourishes such as dynamic or front-running music, though generally the structure remained the same. Mario Kart World, however, does a lot more for every track. Sure, there's an intro and looping area when racing on a course, but there's more music surrounding it. After the first race of a Grand Prix, racers set off on a route to the next course. During this time, intermission music will play from the jukebox. It isn't tied to any single racetrack. As racers approach the next track, the jukebox fades out and a prelude theme will play. This prelude is tied to the upcoming course, building energy for the full theme. After crossing the start line, the intro can play, transitioning into a loop. But there's still more track-specific music. Normally, finishing a track in a Grand Prix will abruptly cut to the results theme. This isn't the case for Knockout Tour. Knockout Tour is a long-form, continuous elimination race with no loading screens. With only one starting grid, tracks and pads transition between each other in one long route. Passing through a checkpoint won't give any breaks. When played like this, the main track themes have an outro. It gets a bit complicated, but the song has certain safe exits positioned after a bar. After an in-game trigger is met, the song will play until the next exit, seamlessly transitioning into the outro. Some tracks even have multiple outros, depending on the position of playback for the main song. So, altogether, any given song for a racetrack in Mario Kart World consists of a prelude, an intro, a loop, and an outro. And that's not even accounting for select tracks that have special, dynamic layers. Jukebox music is much simpler. This music plays while traveling between tracks in a race, during free roam, and on the title screen. It doesn't appear in Knockout Tour. The jukebox features over 200 arrangements spanning the Super Mario franchise and beyond. Contrary to many video game music tracks, jukebox music doesn't loop. It has a set duration with a specific start and end. There isn't a way to extend these songs, meaning there's no looping point to worry about. So, with all that groundwork in mind, a traditional rip wasn't going to happen at launch. How exactly are the tracks going to be recorded? When playing the game, there are all sorts of sound effects mixing into the music. Even idling creates trouble with the engine sound, character voices, and environmental noise. It's difficult to isolate the music. Main track themes are complicated, with sections that are near impossible to record without sound effects. The jukebox seems to be the easiest place to start, with its non-looping songs. Jukebox music can be recorded in a variety of ways. The title screen provides a blank, sound effect-free canvas for the songs to play on. The Mario Kart World main theme plays upon booting the game, before transitioning into a random selection. In offline free roam, photo mode will freeze the world. Player sound effects stop, crowds go unheard, and ambience disappears. Even the pause screen will continue to play music, sound effect free. Getting a clean jukebox recording is really easy, but there are over 200 songs to go through, with no skip button. Since a song only needs to be recorded once, duplicates can eat up a lot of time. Using the map to teleport actually will change the song, but it doesn't give enough time to avoid unwanted sound effects. It seems that entering and exiting free roam from the title screen will easily skip unwanted songs and keep things sound effect free. I've referenced the number of songs from Nintendo's Ask the Developer series, but over 200 is not a concrete integer. The definitive amount was unknown. Fans continue to report bits and pieces heard from the game. Shy Guy Beach, Creative Exercise, Double Cherry Pass. Over time, all the songs had been documented. TZ Gaming and Resentido Social continued to fill the slots, making recordings for every last jukebox song. As recording progressed, it wasn't as straightforward as it first seemed. Songs would play depending on certain conditions: the time of day, mode being played, the specific route. Individual or in combination, these factors determine if a song might be chosen to play. Many players will encounter them through happenstance, but recordings need definitive answers and documentation. Some jukebox songs are entirely exclusive to race modes, Grand Prix and Versus Race, appearing individually or in both. Songs exclusive to these modes present major issues for recording, unavoidable sound effects, The countdown, racers, and ambience get in the way of a clean recording. This needs more thought. Some racers or engines might be quieter to record. NPC drivers aren't as noisy, and the locomotive is near silent when idle. But that doesn't save the intro. Toggles for photo mode and the pause screen no longer play music in a race. The songs also won't loop, leaving one scenario group to get things right. With some creative problem solving, Super Stan and TZ both came up with the same plan. Focusing specifically on the song GBA Bowser Castle, there's a random chance for it to appear when leaving tracks in the Menacing group. The group consists of Airship Fortress, Wario Shipyard, Dry Bones Burnout, and Bowser Castle. Each one has their pros and cons depending on the destination. Super Stan and TZ were interested in a technique called phase cancellation. Audio consists of waveforms. Represented graphically, it looks like a wave, representing amplitude or loudness. If a waveform were to be inverted, the waves would flip in the opposite direction, becoming negative. If a waveform and its inverted copy play at the same time, the resulting wave equals nothing. Positive 1 plus negative 1 equals 0. If the exact engine sounds and countdown could be isolated, the waveform could be inverted and put against the original recording. This would subtract the sound effects and leave only the music behind. But capturing the exact sound effects is tricky, and they'll need to be isolated. This inverting trick can be used in the opposite way. Since there's a chance for this group to play a jukebox song that already has a clean recording from earlier, it can be inverted and subtracted, leaving only the sound effects behind. Different routes produced different sound effects. Some were more consistent than others. Dry Bones Burnout to Bowser Castle has quiet ambience, but the initial turn creates too much variance between attempts. Airship Fortress to Shy Guy Bazaar has light crowd ambience, yet it keeps all racers in a straight line. With enough retries, GBA Bowser Castle will finally play. Attempting to use the isolated sound effects. It'll take even more attempts to get the sound effects to line up just right and have the music play again. And there it is, a clean intro for the song. Unfortunately, the main portion still has ambience. Doing repeated attempts on a short segment like the intro was good enough to let things line up. However, over a longer duration, there's way too much variance and unpredictability when sound effects will trigger. Getting an inversion to perfectly line up and remove the ambience is near impossible. Well, for now, using the Locomoto with its steam engine, the extra sound is relatively quiet. A denoiser tool can clean things up a little. It's disappointing, but it's the best that can be done for now. 5 of the race-exclusive songs had to be captured in this way, as they would only trigger at the very start of a race. A remaining 20 could appear partway through a race, making it easy to idle and capture the intro. With that, the 227 jukebox songs have been recorded. Alright, there are a handful of miscellaneous music tracks as well. Certain one-off themes such as race results, online spectate, and staff roll are clean and simple to record. Then there are the battle tracks. After a match completes, it's possible to watch a replay. When activating photo mode or the pause menu, music will continue to play and the sound effects will remain mute. Photo mode can be used as soon as the replay starts, but its trigger sound effect overlaps with the intro of the song. Once again, phase cancellation can be used. A clean recording of the photo mode sound effect can be captured in free roam when transitioning between songs. This can be inverted and lined up with a recording to clean up the first half second. Well, here comes the most difficult portion. The main tracks. These have 4 separate portions that need different techniques in order to be recorded. Various creative strategies had gone around online, as people figured out how to get a clean capture. John thought to use 2 players to avoid the lap counter jingle. Wonderbread searched far and wide for quiet locations on the map. Simon, from the Nintendo Music Channel, discovered a time trial replay would be quiet by pausing early on. Individually or in groups, people all over strive to produce clean recordings. Starting with the prelude, this portion is meant to play when approaching the next course. There's a certain zone where it will trigger. This requires the cart to accelerate into it, thus making engine noise. There isn't really a quiet moment when the prelude starts. The replay feature skips this portion of song, as well as jukebox tracks. Phase cancellation also isn't an option, given the amount of variables as player control mixes with delicate timing. When messing around with attempts, TZ had discovered something. During an intermission race, when going in reverse, there is an area just before a respawn point. When idling in this zone, after the initial song finishes playing, jukebox songs will be skipped, jumping straight into the next track's prelude. This relieves the issue of timing, as the engine can remain idle and quiet. It also gives more options for recording, as the singled checkered line is no longer needed. Depending on the starting position, a quieter area could be used to capture the prelude. Unfortunately, denoising is still a requirement, but it's far more tasteful than the intended setup of driving to the next track. Track intros are a bit tricky. This portion is used to kick off the song before moving into its main loop. It only triggers once, after a countdown or passing the start line in a route. Several different techniques were going around to capture a clean intro. John John's 2-player method was pretty good, as precise timing avoided the lap jingle. Sound effects would still play, requiring additional denoising. Simon's early discovery of using replay mode seemed best. Once again, activating photo mode during a replay will continue to play the song while keeping the world frozen. Certain tracks would play music later than others, meaning the photo mode activation jingle would occasionally get in the way. TZ Gaming had also thought to use replay mode, and, once again, phase cancellation. The jingle could be inverted and cancelled, creating a clean intro. As for the main loop, this portion will repeat over and over again, leaving ample opportunity to get things right. Once again, a replay is the best option. Since photo mode can be activated within the first half second of the intro, this portion is particularly clean. There's no need for inversion or other trickery. Outros were impossible. Just impossible. These play only during Knockout Tour, only after leaving a track. There's no way to play this without other racers, and multiplayer creates complications in triggering the outro. It would take a massive amount of work to both get a usable recording and perform additional editing to remove the sound effects. The outro won't play during a replay, it won't play during photo mode, and it doesn't show up in a Grand Prix. This one is just a little too difficult to get. Oh, Nintendo put out an update for Mario Kart World. It adds proper music titles. So, scratch creative exercise. Drawing board 1? Okay, it's painting mode 1. Oh, and music volume control? This could be good for inversion. Wait, no, pure recordings. Just mute the sound effects. You're kidding. I know the recordings are the best that can be realistically done with all the options available. But it's still disappointing that there isn't anything cleaner. I know it's good enough, it's a step above everything being shared at launch, but there's too much reliance on post-processing and corrections. It's so close, but not quite authentic. A glitch had been discovered, mere days before a content update. It cancels out Lakitu's respawn, and in combination with Rainbow Road, allows for exploration of an unloaded version of the world map. This is, kinda cool. The setup is a little funky, requiring a Joy-Con 2 to be attached and reconnected to the system over and over to step frames. Alright, neat glitch. What does this have to do with the recording? Well, when a racer goes out of bounds, here's what happens. All of the sound effects stop playing. and only the music remains. Finally, a truly clean environment. This creates one of the most ideal scenarios to record the music. No longer is there a need to denoise environmental sounds for a prelude. There isn't a need to invert the photo mode sound effect for an intro. And, just maybe, there might be a chance to capture the elusive outro. This glitch opens the door for a better opportunity, but it would also require more work. Back to the jukebox. 5 songs only appear at the beginning of a race. The countdown gets in the way, but it could be removed with editing and phase cancellation. This technique loses certain frequencies in the process. The Lakitu controller glitch, when out of bounds, can help remove sound effects for the duration of the song, but it won't remove the countdown from the intro. It's impossible to get out of bounds quick enough. That's when Superstan had discovered yet another glitch, where collision can be disabled. Using the Lakitu controller glitch is fun for veering off the start of Rainbow Road and exploring the unloaded world below. As the sections of Rainbow Road progress, the force of gravity begins to change. Without any anti-gravity panels, racers stick to the track at different angles. In the third segment, just before leaving the spaceport, the world is shown above, while gravity pushes in the opposite direction. With the Lakitu controller glitch active, it's possible to fall upwards into space. After reaching Time Trial's 10 minutes cap, the race will end. Undoing the Lakitu controller glitch and returning to the title screen, collision has been disabled. The collision was unloaded as the world disappeared. This glitch will persist into every mode except Time Trial. Combining the Lakitu controller glitch with the Rainbow Road collision glitch can result in this. Now, a situation is created where a racer starts out of bounds. A race-exclusive intro jukebox song can have a clean beginning. These controller and collision glitches can be combined again for battle mode tracks. Instead of having to bother with inverting the photo mode sound in a replay, the intro can have a clean start. Unfortunately, this combination can't be used with 2 of the 8 arenas, as it takes longer for Lakitu to grab the racer, but it is certainly an improvement from before. Keeping the Lakitu controller glitch on its own, every portion of a track's song can be improved: the prelude, intro, main loop, and outro. The prelude is really easy. Sure, the old method of going backwards works, but the pesky respawn point got in the way. Now, it's possible to cross right into it. There's no more need for denoising. The intro is improved by dashing out of bounds while also triggering the lap counter. If Lakitu is triggered too early, the game won't recognize any progress. Or certain collisions, for that matter. Timing is key to advance a lap and get into a clean area. Again, this only works when approaching a track on a route. And, while a racer is out of bounds, the main loop will also play. Yet another clean portion. There are 30 tracks to race on, leaving plenty to re-record. Nintendo pushed another update. Version 1.4.1 fixed an issue where, if a player disconnects and reconnects a controller... Oh boy, the glitch was patched. Even with auto-updates disabled, simply booting the game would present an option that produces an irreversible mess. Especially for a digital copy. This patch may help time trial competitors, but it would ruin the recording process. It's best to stay offline for now. Previously, without the glitch, outros were deemed impossible to capture due to the complex use of zones and abundant sound effects. The Lakitu controller glitch gave hope, but it wouldn't be easy. Outros are complex. Exclusively in Knockout Tour, an outro will play when approaching the next course. Music tracks rely on safe exits to determine when a song can transition into an outro. It's theorized that there are 2 checks on the course, creating a speed zone. When passing the first check, the game begins to look for the next possible exit. If the song meets an exit, and the racer is closer to the second check than the first, an outro will play. If the player is slow enough, it might take additional time to get to that second check, so the main loop will continue playing. When the second check is passed, the song absolutely needs to take the next exit. Additionally, a single song can have multiple variants of outros, depending on the current position in the song. Since these outros will only play during a knockout tour, the final course in a tour will not have an outro, as its ending will cut to the results theme. Acorn Heights, Wario Shipyard, and Great Question Block Ruins are excluded, as the outros don't appear in-game. Some courses will only show up a certain length into a tour, meaning additional time and progression is needed to even listen to the outros. Knockout Tour wouldn't assume the Lakitu controller glitch in the same way as the other modes. Simply starting a tour from the main menu and disconnecting the controller won't disable respawning. Hope was not lost, as Superstand 22 found a variant of this glitch could trigger only after losing a race and using the retry button. Because this menu is required, a loss was required, creating a lengthy setup per attempt. It's a nice time to grab a sandwich. Timing a retry press while frame stepping with the controller prompt will let the driver go out of bounds, removing the sound effects. Depending on the desired outro, strict timing was involved in setting up the speed check and maintaining a qualifying position. The actual checks per segment remained unknown. Taking a guess if it was hit, boosting out of bounds would once again disable the sound effects. If the check wasn't triggered before going out of bounds, it'd require setting it up all over again. This process became much worse with the later courses. A longer setup, a lower number of qualifying positions, and only a theory for how the check worked. One mistake, and it'd involve minutes worth of setup again. But we were determined. This was the best shot that any fan could have to get a clean recording of the song. An out-of-date version of the game, featuring a glitch that others were using to explore a low poly map. Even if it was difficult, it was the best possible quality that could be recorded. Something previously thought to be impossible was made possible. It just took a bit of innovation. Oh, right. There are also a couple other tracks that feature multiple segments: DK Spaceport and Rainbow Road. DK Spaceport features 6 sections, each with a unique portion of music. Even with the Lakitu controller glitch, these may be difficult to capture with the lap counter jingle. To avoid ambience, the fastest way to go out of bounds is to go in reverse. After entering a segment, a racer is not expected to go backwards. With the glitch, Lakitu shows up, and the sound effects disappear. But, of course, the lap counter jingle is still an issue. With testing, the first 4 segments of music were found to use the safe exit system. After crossing a line, the song will continue playing until the soonest exit, before seamlessly transitioning into the next section. This can be timed, giving more space for the lap jingle to play while the previous song is still active. This leaves more time for the next section to play without sound effects. All that's left is Rainbow Road. Rainbow Road has 4 sections. Section 1 would require some engineering. Starting the course in time trial would include a noisy countdown. Traveling to the course leads through an uncontrollable glider section, wisping the racers into the sky. With careful timing, TZ Gaming devised a plan. Update version 1.4.0 introduced the ability to set custom items. If there was a way to have a racer get hit midway through the transition, it'd be possible to fall out of bounds. The best option on the list was a blue shell. If a racer is in first place, it's possible to self-inflict the blue shell. After about 2 seconds after throwing, damage will be dealt. With careful timing, it can be hit right after the next zone is reached. With the Lakitu controller glitch active, there's a silent room for the intro to play. Section 2 and 3 are easy to capture. The reverse trick from DK Spaceport won't work here, but it's easy enough to jump out of bounds. This is Rainbow Road, after all. With the right angle and timing, there's plenty of clean air for the music. And then, there's Section 4, the final piece. Running up to the checkered line, boost panels and a glider ramp take up the road. Any racer that touches a boost panel will be automatically shoved forward. The ramp orientation makes it difficult to get out of bounds and trigger the next segment of music without changing into a glider. Super Stan noticed something. The left and right sides of the road are lined, lacking the boost panel. Jumping from here still wouldn't change the music. Messing around, he found this. When going in reverse, it's impossible for a glider ramp to push a racer. Going in reverse, leading up to the final section, a racer will fall right through the next gate, changing the music. That's Rainbow Road, finished and recorded. Mario Kart World has an exceptional and lengthy soundtrack. Launch versions of the game don't feature a proper music player. People were still interested in listening to the music on its own. After many hours of trial and error, conceptualizing, and determination, the Mario Kart World soundtrack was cleanly recorded. It's an achievement, a sign of passion. Many factors worked against having a clean recording of the songs. Despite that, the fans continued on, discovering and sharing techniques. A solution wasn't immediately clear, and people got creative. I think the story behind it should be celebrated, as fans persevered through every challenge and attempt. This wasn't a simple extract and convert job direct from the game's files. It was a passion project that took a lot of effort. Early switch to exclusive software will often depend on official means of listening to music, either an in-game music player or release on Nintendo Music. Even so, some variants or songs can be outright missing. Recordings might not be straightforward if a game adds filters or keeps sound effects active. This story of fan efforts may be repeated for other games, so long as the source files remain inaccessible. Recordings take care, ingenuity, time, and most importantly, creative problem solving. So, no, Mario Kart World's soundtrack wasn't properly ripped within its first few days of launch. It was intricately recorded by a group of passionate fans over the course of months.
How did this game not be a nominee for best soundtrack? That's stupid.